She was telling me what to eat, what not to eat. And I couldn't argue with her because, again, I was very fatigued. My legs hurt. I didn't have a lot of energy. I couldn't drive anywhere. And then to complicate matters, my mother came up a couple days later with my sister. So please, people, understand what's happening here. I'm a single man. I got 3 women in my house telling me what to do. So you want to talk about some stress? But again, I really had no choice. And I felt it's only going to be a couple weeks. I'll just have to deal with this. And I was a little disappointed in my mother because when she came into the house, I would have expected a hug because I almost died. But my mother walks into the house, looks at me and goes, "You're fat." I said, "What?" And my sister goes, "Bro, you are fat." And I was about 80, 85 pounds heavier than I am right now, but I carried it well. You know, I felt I was a little chunky. And my daughter said, "No, Dad, you passed chunky 35 pounds ago." And the first thing my mother did, she went right to the kitchen, went to the cupboards and the refrigerator, turned to my sister and started shaking her head. "I don't know who this boy is." And that's what my mom called us when she didn't like you. She called you boy. Not son, boy. And she started taking the food out of the cupboards. My potato chips, my pretzels, my pizza pies, my ice cream, my cookies. She started packing up all my good food. And I said, "Mom," what are you? Whoa, feedback. And she says, "You're taking this food back to the grocery store." And this is the way my mother operated. This is the way my father operated. You do something wrong, you're going to fix it. And so I went back to the grocery store. And again, you have to understand something. I live in a small town outside Rochester. And so everyone knows me in the grocery store. And there ain't that many black people out there. So and when they see a black person coming in with 3 carts of food to return it, you know, they're thinking, "Where did he get this food?" And so the store clerk, she recognized me. She says, "DeWayne, what's going on?" I said, "I got to return this food." She goes, "DeWayne, you love our food." I said, "I do. I love your food. And I love them little pizza pies. I love Mrs. Smith's apple pie. But I got to return this." She goes, "Why?" I said, "Well, I'm a diabetic." She goes, "So?" I said, "Okay. See the woman behind me with that mean look on her face?" And so the store clerk looks over, "Oh." And she saw the look on my mother's face and looked at me and said, "DeWayne, we'll give you a store credit." So they took back all the food because I did have the receipts. They gave me a store credit of, it was around $274.
Wow, that's a lot of junk food.
There's a lot of apple pie, a lot of pizza, a lot of pretzels, a lot of potato chips. And my mother took my little shopping cart with the credit on it and started shopping. And she picked up some Brussels sprouts, broccoli, spinach, the 3 vegetables that I hate. I said, "Mom, can you at least pick something that I like?" Boy, you messed up your life. I did not raise you this way, and obviously you need my direction. Now, and again, because people say, "DeWayne, you're a grown man." I said, "Yeah, but you don't understand. My mother," see, when I was growing up, my mother was a living legend. All the kids in the neighborhood, when my mother came running, they ran before I did. And I knew my mother was coming because you're on a ball field. If the people in the outfield start jumping over the fence, I knew that she was coming down the street. And my mother, she's only that big. But my mother could leap and rip a branch out of a tree. And you became part of that tree. So when you grow up with that type of experience, you learn you don't say no to my mother. You go along with the program. And again, I felt I only had 2 or 3 weeks of this, and she'll be going back home. But funny thing happened. Funny thing happened. I started eating them ugly Brussels sprouts. And the hospital plan that I had started on wasn't working. My blood glucose average is still over 420. And they were going to put me on a 5th insulin shot. And my mother made me Brussels sprouts for breakfast. And I said, Ma, are you smoking something? And my mother didn't like you, when you allude she's taking a drug or something. Boy, you're only an inch away from death. They almost took you there. I'll take you there. And so I said, okay. And so I ate them Brussels sprouts just to appease my mother. And 2 hours later, I went to measure my blood sugar like I normally did. And of course, I expected to be 400 or 500. And it was only 326, which is still as high, obviously. But it was over 100 points down from the previous readings that I had following the hospital's diet plan. I was so excited. I said, whoa. I called the hospital. I called the doctor. Yeah, DeWayne, that's an anomaly. I said, oh. Okay, it's an anomaly. Okay, so what do engineers do when they face an anomaly? In the lab, we test, exactly. We test the hypothesis. I got one data point. And I felt I had nothing to lose because they still wanted to cut off my legs. And I decided, well, let me just try this Brussels sprouts again. And I tried it for lunch, and after lunch, and my blood glucose level dropped, not 100 points, maybe about 55, 56 points. I went, whoa, I was excited. I called the doctor, got 2 data points. He goes, DeWayne, are you listening to me? I need you to understand something, DeWayne. You're in denial. And most diabetics are in denial of their disease. And I'm trying to help you. Whatever you read, you did it incorrectly. Go back to the original program. And so when I got off the phone, my mother asked what the doctor say. Now, I wanted to stay alive. So I said, yeah, Mom, well, the doctor said, yeah, just, follow the program. I didn't tell her which program. And I felt, again, I had nothing to lose, and I continued to eat the Brussels sprouts for the next 7 days. By the end of the 7th day, my average glucose level was around 210. Again, it was still high, but it was steadily coming down. And when I started doing some research, actually my daughter had done some research, and I basically started to devise some programs around, was this really an anomaly? Is this an accident? And I discovered there are 5 foods that make you diabetic and keep you in a diabetic state. And there are 5 superfoods that will help to control and stabilize your blood glucose level and reverse the disease. And I'll get into that. The one other thing I just wanted to mention is that it took about 3.5 months for me to wean myself off the insulin. And according to the doctors, well, DeWayne, you no longer have diabetes, but we know that can't be true. We need to run some more tests. And my endocrinologist, he was very upset with me because he said, DeWayne, we're obviously doing something wrong in the lab, and your hemoglobin A1C is better than mine, and that can't be because you are diabetic. And there is no cure for diabetes, so you must be doing something wrong. And I said, okay, so what should I do? Well, DeWayne, you got to go back on the insulin. I said, well, why? Because you are diabetic. And you can't beat this disease. DeWayne, you are going through the honeymoon period. Now, I've heard of a honeymoon,